Welcome to our first webinar for techOMS using our new Riverside software. Hopefully you guys can hear me and you can see my screen. Today we're going to walk through a quick introduction and an overview of techOMS. Without further ado, let me get screen share going. All right, I'm hoping you guys can see my screen. What is techOMS? To start with, my name is Adam Laverne. I work for Tech Dynamics. Tech Dynamics, we pride ourselves in the perfect order process, helping our shippers achieve the perfect order by getting orders out the door faster with fewer errors and with lower operating costs. In today's fast-paced e-commerce environment, we don't have time to wait. Our customers are managing complex multi-channel operations with staggering customer churn rate. Delivering the perfect order every time is not just a goal, it's a necessity. Over the next little while, we're going to walk through how techOMS is the ultimate solution for third-party logistics fulfillers seeking to streamline operations, reduce costs, and elevate the customer experience. Think of techOMS as a bridge that connects your customers' shopping carts to your WMS fulfillment system, ensuring smooth automated order flow from capture to shipment tracking. We'll dive into techOMS, look at how we can help minimize costly errors and reduce labor by eliminating manual touchpoints. We're going to explore order routing and rules engine and highlight how techOMS can help save on shipping by delivering the order to the right fulfillment location with the right conditions. Lastly, we'll showcase how techOMS allows you to shift some responsibility back to your customer for various process flows, reducing your customer support, letting yourselves concentrate on fulfilling orders, and focus on growing your business. techOMS handles the complexity, saving you labor, saving you on shipping, and where possible, shipping some of that responsibility back to your customer. What does that look like? techOMS sits in the middle of your tech stack. On the left-hand side of your screen, you have your various shopping carts and marketplaces that connect into techOMS, providing flow of inbound orders. On the right-hand side of your screen, you have your fulfillment centers running similar warehouse management software, or depending on whether you're 3PL or 4PL, these fulfillment centers could be separate entities, companies running separate WMS systems. Again, techOMS is agnostic from a systems perspective. Orders flow from the shopping carts. They're pulled into techOMS. techOMS applies order and routing rules to said orders and distributes them to the appropriate warehouse for fulfillment. techOMS also grabs information on inventory from the specific warehouses, updates techOMS's database on a nightly basis, and then synchronizes that inventory to the various shopping carts and marketplaces. Here are a couple of the key features that we offer within techOMS. We'll jump in further into the demo as well. First and foremost, order routing. Our flagship in order routing is by using our market-leading TechShip rate shopping software. We have what we call time in transit. techOMS partnered with TechShip will make a real-time shipping call to get the estimated length of time of delivery and the estimated cost of delivery, and then route that order to one of the multiple fulfilling nodes based off of that criteria selected. For example, if shortest time in transit is your goal, let's say you're shipping ice cream, the difference between 2 days shipping time and 4 days shipping time is ice cream being delivered to the customer as ice cream versus ice cream being delivered as some funky milkshake. 4-day delivery time, your required ice packs or dry ice become cost prohibitive, really impacting that contribution margin perspective. Time in transit is the determining factor for order routing. techOMS will look at the order to the customer, look at the various fulfilling nodes, and will route that order to the fulfilling node with the shortest estimated time in transit from the carrier. We also do order routing based off of a static address, date, zip, inventory, etc. Where we really see a lot of benefit and really see a lot of reduction in labor is through our optimized automated processes through our order rule engine, optimized efficiency and profitability. If you can think of the condition and it's an easily repeatable condition, you can automate that within techOMS. My favorite description, my JBL running speaker. It's a pretty good sized speaker, has a honking lithium ion battery. It requires a lithium ion sticker placed on the outside of the package to be compliant with shipping. The pickers in your warehouse should not need to know the product that is going into the box to successfully pick an order. I'll show you in techOMS how we can automate the rule that if this Bluetooth speaker is picked, automatically add the required shipping label to the package. We'll walk through a couple other examples that really show how you can minimize effort to optimize profitability and efficiency and really reduce that labor component and help deliver that improved customer satisfaction. techOMS also provides faster order processing. I'll touch briefly on how you can shift the responsibility for basic order edits back to your customer. Let them make those changes. The length of time it takes your customer to email you with a basic address change, they can log into their portal of techOMS, they can make that change themselves. The impact to your customer has not changed. The timeliness and the ability to get that done in real time without impacting your fulfillment workflows is enormous. We also get into what we call real-time inventory visibility and multi-channel synchronization. Within techOMS, you can connect to multiple shopping carts, have all of those shopping carts synchronized to 100% of your inventory. When an order comes in from shopping cart 1, techOMS will send a real-time inventory adjustment to shopping carts 2, 3, and 4 to make sure we reduce that available to promise inventory to keep all in sync. What does this mean for yourselves and your customers? It means that with techOMS, we help maximize opportunity costs. We help maximize sales. And with that real-time inventory adjustment, drastically reduce the chance of stockouts associated with it. Multi-channel management really is that. It's the ability for you to have multiple shopping carts and marketplaces connected to a single instance within techOMS to manage all of your orders in a single view. The next two are really exciting. Within techOMS, all products have the ability to define an alternate item. If you think of Shopify, Shopify has a button you can check off that says, allow this item to sell even if out of stock. Great feature. Use it for pre-sale. However, you still eventually have to deliver and fulfill that order. You still have to fulfill that inventory. Within techOMS, what you can do is define alternate items where if that primary SKU is out of stock, rather than that order sitting in a back order status, in a pre-sale, you'd want to sit in a back order status. But if it's just a run-of-the-mill product, rather than have that item sit in a back order status, waiting ad nauseum to be fulfilled, and of course, you get that customer Wismo, right? Where's my order? I ordered it 3 days ago. There's been no movement. Where's my order? I ordered it 5 days ago. That customer disappointment with each one of those emails increases. The system will automatically substitute the item based on priority statuses as set within techOMS. And then kitting on the fly, really cool feature. Something we used to do at the small Canadian warehouse club. You don't need a bundle to be pre-built, pre-configured, pre-boxed. What you can do with techOMS is kitting on the fly is you can take any existing list of SKUs and you can wrap them, encapsulate them into a bundle SKU. What does that mean? Well, from a warehouse perspective, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. My blue pen, I can sell this as an each. The picking costs are going to be astronomical for this as an each. I could sell this as a 12-pack, right? Sell it by the case. I could create a virtual bundle to sell it by the case, mitigating a lot of my or reducing a lot of my fulfillment costs. What techOMS does when you create that kit on the fly, the customer buys the kit, the order arrives as a kit. techOMS breaks that out into the individual component SKUs and flows those component SKUs to the warehouse for fulfillment. There is no need to set up a kit SKU in your WMS. There is no need to sever your inventory and allocate your inventory to a kit SKU versus a component SKU. Within your WMS, it's at the component SKU level. Bulk of WMS programs, if you receive each is 1 and a case pack is 12, if you receive a quantity of 12, the WMS should roll that up and your pickable unit should be a single case pack. Really helping drive flexibility, functionality, reducing labor. In terms of flexibility and scalability, techOMS is designed to integrate easily with other systems, create a cohesive ecosystem for your business operations. When we talk scalability, we easily accommodate increased order volumes, allowing your business to grow without proportional increases in operational complexity. What I'm going to do now is change my screen share, and I'm going to take you guys into techOMS directly, and we'll walk through some of these features within techOMS specifically. Welcome to techOMS. techOMS runs what we call an organizational structure. techOMS was designed for 3PL fulfilling market with feedback and input from our 3PL fulfilling partners. What does that mean? Typically, it's the 3PL who is the organization, who's the one purchasing techOMS. As a fulfiller, you can set all of your clients up with their own individual accounts within techOMS. There is no account fee, whether it's an account that does 2 orders a week or an account that does 2,000 orders a week or 200,000 orders a week. There is no fee for having accounts set up in the techOMS. The idea behind that is it gives your staff a single point to manage their systems and operations. Some of our competitive set, there's transactional fees, there's account fees. What ends up happening is you're putting half of your accounts into this system where half you're connecting through plugins to your WMS because it's cost prohibitive for small accounts to be connected into an order management system. And then your staff now have to look at a chart. You know, if it's this vendor, I have to go to this system to manage it. And here's all the things I can do. If it's this account, I have to go directly to WMS. Now I'm limited in some of the things I can do. We took that and simplified it. Set up all your accounts in techOMS. The functionality is there for connectivity, order flow, rules engine, etc. If it's a small account that doesn't need the rules, you can disable the rules engine and have a reduced transaction cost. If it's an account that has very specific and prescriptive rules, by all means, our rules engine is pretty cool, pretty powerful. Each account is individually configured. Changes made in one have no impact on the other. Then within that, you can create account user views, either account admin, account user, view only, different levels of permissions, that each of these accounts, your customer can come in here and it gives them certain attributes and abilities in terms of what they can view, what they can edit, what they can do. So let's jump into my demo account. You'll notice we start with our exception dashboard. We've got some KPIs at the top of the screen, and then any warnings or process errors will show below that. Gives you really an operational overview. This is my morning. What are the problems I need to deal with report as we go. When we talk about some basic functionality, basic settings, really what's interesting to note, there's 3 sections where you set up your carriers. There's the techOMS native carrier dictionary. You set up FedEx, you set up your various service levels, you define your shipment type, small parcel, LTL. If required, you define your tracking. Think if you're using a regional disruptive carrier, insurgent carrier, their tracking information is not going to be auto-populated in like a Shopify or WooCommerce. By adding the tracking URL, you can now push that back to make sure that that tracking information flows to the customer natively. The reason why I mentioned you set up your carrier and service within techOMS itself, because now what we have is we have 2 separate mappings. On the sales channel, or on the shopping cart side, I'm showing Shopify as an example because Shopify has a single value for carrier and service, whereas a lot of others use carrier code and service code separately. You play the matching game. You take your free shipping from Shopify and you map it. Maybe it's going to FedEx, or maybe you're going to maximize your profit and you're going to have free shipping map over to Rate Shop Standard. And you're going to use the carrier that's the lowest cost and save some shipping dollars, reduce some of that order cost. Similarly, if Shopify, again, I'm seeing more and more people using shipping promotional terms similar to marketing terms, free shipping, gift shipping, faster shipping, creates this sense of benefit, faster shipping. Ooh, sounds good. What does it mean? Without a committed date range, without a committed timeline to the customer, it's marketing speak for not much. You could set all 3 of those up on a many-to-one mapping to all route to Rate Shopping Standard, maximizing your profitability of that order. On the flip side of this, you set up your carrier mapping. Now, carrier mapping is interesting. If you have one warehouse, you can use the output of your carrier names, carriers, and services. As long as these match your warehouse, fulfillment level mapping is not required. Where it gets interesting, as I mentioned, you can have 3 separate fulfilling locations that are 3 separate companies running 3 separate WMSs. There's a really high probability they're going to run 3 separate naming conventions on their carrier and service mapping. If needed, you can come in here and define what that is, channel code, what you're receiving from the WMS, FedEx, service code GRD, you map that back to your FedEx ground. And now what you have is you have continuity of information flowing between the shopping cart, the warehouse, back to techOMS, back to the shopping cart. We also do a similar mapping for SKUs. Should you need to do SKU mapping, or should you have a retailer whom, depending on the cart they're on, has a different SKU number, but it all links back to the same SKU in the WMS, you can do SKU mapping at the sales channel level. If you're a brand product seller and you have 4 different fulfillers, 4 separate companies, chances that they're running the same SKU naming convention probably low. Then you can do SKU mapping on the fulfillment channel side. And lastly, when we get into what I like to show on a reference mapping, you're able to create reference codes through a rules engine. I'll show you that in a moment. And then what you're able to do is define or determine within the list of endpoints available, where do you want to map it? Maybe a shipping label. Maybe you're passing it to notes. Maybe you want that shipping label to pass to a bill of lading or bill to. Every point available is defined allowing you to select where you want to pass that information to. So that gives a basic overview. Most settings are don't need to be configured. They're default in nature, etc. Let's jump to the product catalog. We run a standard hierarchical product catalog. What does that mean? It means that your most basic SKU, think of this as your display name within your shopping cart, has a variant level product name. We've got some basic detail information, and then this is where you're able to list your alternate SKUs. If test SKU is not available, well, in priority sequence, techOMS will automatically substitute it for test item 1, test item 2, or whatever this is, default title. We've added up to 20 alternate SKUs, at which point the customer said, okay, I think that's enough. We have not yet reached the limit of how many alternate SKUs you can add. So again, this is perfect in the example of your shopping cart in Shopify. Your partner checks a box that says, allow this item to sell even if out of stock. Well, you can define what those alternate items are, or your customer can define what those alternate items are, so that when this SKU is received, it will automatically substitute and provide an alternate SKU. We get into the world of fashion, clothing. My background, a lot of what I did was in the clothing side of the house. You've got your t-shirt, you got your Irish cable knit sweater, and that comes in 4 sizes, 4 colors. You'd have 8 child SKUs attached to that Irish cable knit sweater. When we talk about creating that bundle on the fly, let's come into a bundle SKU. It's checking the box to say that this is a bundle. So you create your display name, checking a box to say that this is a bundle, and then you're defining what the parts, the components of that bundle SKU are, that kit on the fly SKU are. In this case here, you can see it's 3 separate SKUs, right? Red, green, pink. It could just as easily be, as I mentioned, it could just as easily be an in or a case back. The beauty is the component SKU and the bundle SKU can sell side by side. What does that look like when you receive an order? When you receive an order for a bundle SKU, you can see here that this bundle SKU is composed of 3 separate phone components. You got the phone case, the phone charger. Well, you receive that original SKU, the bundle SKU, techOMS breaks this out into the 3 individual components, attaches the order value information at the header level. You can see the different order value information, subtotal, discount, shipping, handling. If you're running tax, we don't run tax in our Shopify sandbox, but if you're running tax, you'd see the tax amount and then what that total price is. It also applies line item pricing. In the case of the bundle, it applies it to the first line received. We pick up tags, we pick up order notes, we pick up any references attached to this. So for example, you can see it's Shopify fulfillment order ID is attached as a reference. The sales number itself is using Shopify's order name. So leading with a hash order number, fulfillment number context. And this would go through our automated allocation, which will then create a shipment. I use this one a lot for testing. You can see how many shipments I've canceled. But what it would do is it would create that shipment, and it would send that shipment to the warehouse for fulfillment. And you can see what gets sent to the warehouse for fulfillment is the individual component SKUs broken out at line item. What's really interesting, and come back, this one's already in a draft status. The process flow, if it wasn't in a draft status, your customer says, hey, this order, 1219, I need to make a basic edit on the address. Happens all the time. Rather than email you the basic edit that needs to be made, and of course, I would pick up the phone and call you 3 minutes later and say, hey, did you get my email? You would then have to interrupt your process flow. What we created in techOMS is an automation point where you'd come back into this shipment that's been sent to your warehouse, and you would cancel the shipment. Now, it's already canceled. I'm not going to redo it, but you'd hit cancel. techOMS is going to ping the WMS and get a status update of this ship. Is it in a picking status or is it in a ready status? I'll use extensive as an example. If this is ready or allocated but has not been added to a pick wave, this order would be canceled, removed from extensive, at which point in time your customer can come back, move this to draft status, update the address. Again, you need to define a business process here. You can change everything on the address. I highly recommend not doing that. You need to ask yourself what's a material change versus immaterial change. This does not run through any fraud processing. This is not going to update your shopping cart. This is purely making a basic update to the delivery address. So, this is a test order of mine. There's a high probability I did this on my phone and I wasn't wearing my glasses. We'll make a basic edit to the ship to address. In addition to being able to make basic address edits, your customer can change the quantity. They can reduce the quantity down, they can remove a line, or delete the order in its entirety. Today, we're just going to make a basic change to the address. We're going to approve this order, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to allocate and fulfill. This allocate and fulfill step is what creates that shipment to be sent to the warehouse for fulfillment. Now, in my demo environment, I have a couple of rules turned on. I've probably failed. You can see here, rules completed. There's a rule that failed, which has then put this back to draft status, separate issue. Typically, what would happen in real life, you would now see this as sent to warehouse. At which point in time, that order is now back in your instance of extensive Synapse, Snap, Logiba, whomever, and now you can go ahead and fulfill this. The beauty is there's zero involvement from yourselves or your customer service team from a fulfillment side for your customer to make this basic edit. Let's go and look at the order rules. We'll come back to this draft status with a couple of the order rules. The very first thing we do in our time in transit order rules, we define the warehouses we want to calculate the shipping costs and time. We run typically what we call a condition called enough stocks. This is going to validate the sufficient inventory in these locations to fulfill the order in its entirety, aka don't split the order. Assuming you have one of your 4 warehouses has sufficient stock, action if true, standard SQL. We're again only using a location that has sufficient stock. We're going to select the warehouse. We can select by warehouse priority. Why warehouse priority? Not all fulfillers are created equally, right? You might have a fulfillment location that has a higher fulfillment cost or a higher processing fee. You might want to use them as a last resort where your lower cost would be your higher priority. Shortest time in transit, asterisk next to this, does not mean air freight. What techOMS looks at is the date of delivery, i.e., if you place your order today and you have 5 results come back for February 1st, techOMS will select the cheapest, I repeat, the cheapest service with Feb 1st as the date. It looks at of the shortest date of delivery, it will select the cheapest service level, right? Nobody wants to send things air freight. Really has a significant impacts in contribution margin. Or because I come from the world where hard goods and clothing were my primary business, lowest cost of shipping. So this is not going to use date as your primary metric for selection. It's going to use cost of shipping. It's going to select the carrier that has the lowest cost of shipping. This is using our TechShip product in conjunction to make this happen. Within TechShip, you can configure and you can set rules to say don't go beyond 4 days shipping timeline. You can set conditions or order management rules and rate shopping groups within TechShip to make sure that this isn't some 35-day slowest boat coming from overseas or what have you, to make sure it's reasonable and relevant. Now, based on the determining factor, techOMS will route the order based off of that, and then we can go ahead and we can do a couple other things. We're going to populate that order with the expected delivery date, the number of days it's going to be in transit, and the expected delivery day of week. Why? Because now that you have this information, you can start doing additional process optimization within your WMS or within your warehouse based off of these data points. The other thing we can do, assuming that your order comes in with the set carrier and service, you can override the carrier and service on the order based off of that rate shopping call, resetting that order with the revised carrier and the revised service. If the order came in UPS ground, and it turns out that the lowest cost of shipping is actually FedEx ground home, techOMS will override the carrier and service on the order to be reflective of FedEx ground home. And what we have here is an error handling, where if there isn't a single location that can fulfill this order, we're going to send it to a clearing location, which in this case is a central warehouse. What's really interesting is these rules start building off of each other. An auto upgrade rule, let's come back to ice cream. If the expected delivery is greater than 3 days as the condition, let's upgrade this. Let's put this to UPS second day expedited. And the last step of this is we're going to override that expected delivery days from 3 days or 4 days from the initial call to 2 days. You can see that these rules start to build on each other. We can take that one step further. We can now go into packaging. We know what the expected delivery days are. If the expected delivery day is 1 day, in this case, we're adding a line to the order. We're actually adding the ice packs required to keep this ice cream as ice cream. Think about that. You receive this order, you create your pick wave, your picker gets the pick ticket. Not only do they have the individual components lines from the order itself, but they also have the packaging that's right on that pick ticket. When they take out their device and they're doing device-based picking, they scan the component SKU, put it to the tote. They also have to scan the packaging and put the packaging to the tote. What do you think your chances are of a mispick? Pretty low, right? Even in a paper-based warehouse, you got your pen, you got your paper, and you're checking it off. To complete that pick, you're picking the component SKUs, you're picking the ice pack. When this order is fulfilled and sent back to techOMS to push to the shopping cart, any manually added lines in techOMS are stripped from the order before sent back to the shopping cart. The only place that your customer would see this ice pack show up is if you're using a packing slip. When we get down to 3 days in transit, not only are we adding an additional quantities of ice packs, but we're also adding an insulated cooler. You can see how powerful this is, especially if you're like me in a retail industry where you're doubling, tripling. Some categories I'd hit a 10 times lift factor at holiday. Half my warehouse staff were temp labor. This really becomes powerful because it's taking that human element, it's taking that decision tree out of the hands of the picker, and it's automating this. Think about training and onboarding, how much quicker and simpler this is. They just need to follow the lines and pick the lines, right? Now, that works when you're picking on the fly and these products are stored in the racking with the rest of your merchandise. But what if, in the case, we'll stick with ice cream, what if your packaging is next to your pack out stations, right? Your pack outs in the freezer. Well, you don't necessarily need to add the packaging information as an order line. Instead, what you can do is you can do the same thing, but you can add it as a reference. You can call it packaging. Add a single ice pack. When we go down to the 3-day time in transit, same thing. Your packaging code, add 3 ice packs and in the insulated package. What you now need to do is put this reference somewhere that makes sense, somewhere that's going to be visible to the packer. Let's come back to extensive. We're going to come back and we're going to create a reference mapping. So creating a reference mapping is as simple as this. Memory serves, bill of lading, or actually even better, trailer number shows on the pick ticket. Now what we're doing is we're using a field that prints to the pick ticket, trailer number, and we're going to pass that packaging information to the trailer number. So what's going to happen on your pick ticket, top corner, where the trailer number is, you're going to see what the quantity of ice packs are and any insulated packaging or what have you required for this order for the packer. Assuming you have that trailer traveling with that package, it takes the guesswork out of it from a packaging perspective by adding this reference line, or if you're adding packaging information to the order lines themselves as pickable quantity, you almost have to try to get this wrong. Other things, we talked about the lithium ion battery. We come back to my running speaker. Here's 3 different colors of Bluetooth speakers. If this or this or this, again, operators or, if any of these SKUs are purchased on the order, this rule is going to add code shipping label lithium sticker. That's as a reference. Well, maybe we don't want to add this reference. Let's add this as actual pickable SKU. Add lithium sticker. Here we go, lithium sticker, quantity 1. All right, so now what's going to happen? This SKU is present. The system will automatically add this to the order as a pickable SKU. Again, really hard to mispick this. But maybe this isn't maybe we're using a lithium sticker, but maybe it's not a sticker. What about if it's a gift with purchase? It's marketing swag. It's a sample. Maybe the end client's buying a product and your seller is running a promo. If they buy any of these 10 qualifying SKUs, they get a sample to try. Now you're providing that marketing sample, that marketing swag based off of the condition. And maybe the condition is not SKU. Maybe that condition is an order tag. Let's find my order tag. Here's a tag value. Maybe if it's VIP customer is the tag, they're getting that marketing swag. You're automating this. You're getting into CRM light functions. Really think about the power from a fulfillment perspective where you can now come back to your seller and say, hey, we can start getting into one-to-one marketing. We can use reference values, tag values, customer name, SKU. This could be gift with purchase. Buy a bed in a box and get a free pillow. The possibilities become endless. And that's just one rule. And that product, the gift product, the benefit product, it's being added as a line. It's a pickable SKU. This could be a coupon code. Maybe you just print off a stack of randomly generated coupon codes, and this could just be pick a coupon code and include it in that box for that customer, maximizing your marketing gross margin return on investment. What are some of the other things we can do? How about fraud score? Shopify publishes a fraud score. It's a number between 0 and 1, 0.5 and above being medium to high risk. Here's a perfect example where you set your sales channel defined in the Shopify, and then you pick your fraud score risk from the various list of conditions, and you set it as equal to or greater than 0.5. What happens when this is true? Well, we've set the order status to draft. As a draft status, this order will not push to your warehouse for fulfillment. It requires manual work activity. It requires an action to be taken. And now we set up a notification. We're going to notify your seller and say, hey, this order has a risk of fraud. It's on hold pending review and approval. As we walk through with this order here, your seller is now going to need to come into this order, which is in a draft status. They're going to have to look at their different points of consideration. Ship to address, phone number, email address. Is this a known email address that we've been burned by before? Is the bill to some South African prince who's going to make me a millionaire if I answer his email? There's a business process here that requires a bit of critical thinking. Look at the value, look at the type of product being offered, etc. And then your customer would walk through those same steps. If your seller's convinced or happy with the risk, they can approve this and allocate and fulfill this order, which will then send this to your warehouse for fulfillment. When we talked about offsetting risk and shifting some of this responsibility back to your sellers, this is what I'm talking about. Best part about it, the audit log. You can see who changed this and when. When your seller approves this and pushes this to you for fulfillment, should this down the road be fraud and they come back and say, you owe me money, you shipped a fraudulent order, you can come back in techOMS and show them when they did that, right? The same can be done for a high value order hold. If the condition for Shopify fraud is not true, the next condition it's going to look at is, as defined, is the order total over $2,000. If yes, same activity. Move it to draft status, notify your seller that your seller has to come in here and review this. We're actually doing a demo to a potential customer, and the potential customer was saying that their seller wanted them to review every order over $2,000 and email them the order number, and they would log into their customer system and review it and email back approving or denying releasing of those orders. Just stop for a minute and think the manual work activity. You get 1,000 orders a day. You're having to troll through 1,000 orders to find any over $2,000, to then email a list to someone. But you can't pick them. You got to wait until you get that list emailed back. Now you're going through and you're releasing orders, but you can't release these ones. These random lines you can't release until you get confirmation from your seller, and then you release them. That's a lot of touch points. That's a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong. And that's a lot of unnecessary delay for your customers when that can be easily solved by an order rule. I don't have it here, but based on decision tree, if this condition is false, aka the order is not over $2,000, so it's not a Shopify high risk order, it's not over $2,000, this order will follow a standard process flow. What does that mean? It means it will just go based off of any other order rules will be applied, and it will be sent to your warehouse for fulfillment. We talk static order rules. I'm Canadian, proudly Canadian, almost to a fault. Here's an example of an order rule that I used to have in my previous business. If I was shipping from Ontario, west of Ontario, Manitoba out west, or if I was shipping east of Quebec to the east coast of Canada from Ontario, I would get an upcharge for an out of region fee. That upcharge was about 30% increase on my cost of shipping. Not insignificant. This static order rule, instead of time in transit, the static order rule, really it's just basic. If the order is originating from a Western province, route that order to the Western warehouse. And it's for provinces, and you have enough stock to fulfill this order in its entirety from your Western location, route it to your Western warehouse. If it's not a Western order, is it an Eastern order? So again, or New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland, I should add Nova Scotia to here. You have sufficient stock in your Eastern warehouse, fulfill it from your East Coast warehouse. If it's not West, it's not East, it means it's Central. Your last action would be route to your Central warehouse. This static rule removes that cross-region fee. We start looking at all these different order rules. We talked about packaging. Here's a common one. It's common for Hawaii as it is for the Northern Territories in Canada. If your state equals Hawaii, put the order on hold. Tell your seller. Maybe your seller has a clause on their website saying if you're Puerto Rico or Hawaii, or if you're Canadian territories, we will provide you with a manual shipping quote. Well, this intercepts that order, puts the order on hold, notifies your seller. Your seller can do up their shipping quote, communicate with the customer. If the customer accepts the cost of shipping, you can now release this and proceed. Repeatable actions defined by the system. We talked briefly about using marketing swag, add a line for marketing swag. You can do the same thing. You can create VIP shipping rules. You can do the same thing for tag. If it comes from a certain sales channel and that customer tag is VIP shipping, say you like your Sephora, you like getting your nails done, etc., and you're a high value customer, someone with a high lifetime value, maybe what that customer gets express shipping free of charge. Here you can set up that rule. If the tag is VIP shipping, give them express shipping. If the tag is VIP gift, give them a sample. Here's your gift with purchase. If not, Ed Store, throw a thank you card into that package. And this one rule, which takes about 3 minutes to create, you have 3 different actions from a marketing CRM perspective based off of order tags. Upgraded shipping for that customer that needs that, right? That high lifetime value. They want to feel sort of important, VIP. Gift with purchase for that market segmentation that likes that free sample or free swag. And then the one that just wants that personalized experience, just a thank you card. all things you can offer your seller, all things you can create rules to quickly and simply do. You can see from the rules, a signature required over $250. You can create that rule. Third-party carrier, you can define. Come back to EdStore. EdStore has a global agreement with FedEx, free upgraded FedEx Express. What you can do is, if the condition is EdStore, set the carrier and service. Doesn't matter what comes in on the order. You can set it. You're overriding that to FedEx Express, and it's third-party billing. Now you can populate the billing information. Populate the third-party account, the zip, country. You could also populate collector prepaid information, but we'll use third-party because oftentimes in the direct-to-consumer market, you're using third-party shipping. This information is all populated, passed on that order into your WMS. When this gets to your shipping station, whether it's native to your WMS or it's a third-party shipping, it's TechShip, typically this is read by the shipping station. You're taking that human error out of that process flow. In retail, I come back to, spent 20 years in retail. And 20 of those 20 years, I had an analyst that would review my shipping bills. The amount of times I would get billed for a Walmart dropship shipment because the fulfiller forgot to log out of my shipping portal and log into Walmart's, and boom, 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 boom. Next thing you know, I got 10, 12 shipments billed to my shipping account for Walmart. No offense. Walmart's a pretty big company. I don't think I need to be paying for their shipping. I'll worry about my own things. Same thing with the Bay had this. I'd get billed for the Bay. This takes that human error factor out of it. My most recent company, I'd bill back the shipper. They'd have to do a chargeback, credit my account, debit Walmart's account. I didn't charge them a fee, but the first company I worked for, a Fortune 50 company, I guarantee you, we were charging them an admin fee. So you ship on my account and I got to do a correcting entry, I'm going to bill you $100 every time you do it wrong. It gets expensive when you're the fulfiller and you're the one picking up that punitive fee. And the order rules are set up in a way that really help simplify process flows. Here's a great one. You have a seller and they want to do a substitution SKU. They do a regional SKU. So if you're Western US, you get SKU A. If you're Eastern US, you get SKU B. It sells under the same SKU number, but they're two physically different products. Here's an easy way to set that up. Your condition, sales channel, Shopify, and then your tag value. You'd have to add a tag to your Shopify. And here's the substitution rule. Sub SKU A for SKU B. The product comes in and it's set for green, you automatically sub it for red. Without anyone needing to go into this order, based off of East-West split, the customer ordering, it's called SKU A and East SKU, anyone in the East is automatically getting swapped out the red instead of the green. If that customer, because you can tag the customer with SKU A, that customer moves across the country, they get that same experience. They're always getting that same item consistently, even though this seller has two separate items that they sell depending on East versus West. That customer experience has not changed regardless of them moving. Another example where order rules really help drive that. Last thing I want to say about bundling, we'll come back down to the inventory side of things. Again, as I mentioned, techOMS takes a snapshot of the WMS inventory. The WMS is the record of truth. techOMS updates on a nightly basis and then passes real-time adjustments to the shopping cart. When an order is received, so we've got 4 units here. When an order is received, it's received from sales channel 1. techOMS will then send an inventory adjustment to sales channel 2, sales channel 3, sales channel 4 to decrement that available to promise to keep inventory in sync. That adjustment that techOMS sends, when you look at the bundle quantity, it does the same thing. You can see here we've got 96 summer phone SKU bundles available. That means that one of the 3 SKUs only has 96 units available in our Western warehouse. If the component SKU sells independently, not only does techOMS send the adjustment for the component SKU, because now there's only 95 available, it also calculates and sends the adjustment for the bundle SKU. that bundle SKU would be adjusted down to 95 in that instance, and that would then be pushed to the shopping cart without human intervention, keeping inventory in sync, maximizing sales. That takes us to the end of what I had to show you guys today. Should you have questions, concerns, etc., my name again is Adam Laverne, and by all means, please reach out to me, and I look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Thank you very much, folks, and have yourselves a good day.